trees, your yellow leaves move me. Dancing roofs, your painted red shakes the room. When I get there, I'll let my feet roam. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I'll know the answer. Let me know.
Hey everybody, happy Monday. This is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now, for some reason, I've had loads of technical difficulties today, so I'm a few minutes late getting the live stream started. I think it's because I haven't done a live stream in like forever. It seems like it's been at least 4 weeks because I came down with COVID. So first of all, there was the 4th of July and that was a Monday, and I thought, screw it, I'm American, even though I hope you guys could hear me, by the way. Let me just make sure that everything's working. Testing 1 2 3. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I thought, oh, screw it, I'm American, even though I'm in England. I'm gonna I'm gonna celebrate 4th of July. But then the 4th of July I was just really tired. The next day I found out I had COVID, so that was like, then the next few weeks was just sort of a tired, lethargic feeling and everything like that. And then last week we had this heat wave, and when I do the live streams, I have to close all the windows and everything like that, turn off all the fans, and then you just see me sweat. You see me like cooking my own juices. So apologies for being so long with the live stream. I know some people have been asking for it, which is nice, but it's been very, very busy this last couple of months, just getting stuff done. And first of all, today I had all this technical difficulty. So usually I have the camera set up in a different way. So now I'm just against this blank wall. I've got this got a light up here, but it's kind of, it's really pretty dark. So apologies for that. So anyway, I'm just glad you guys are here. So what's going on new with me? So the COVID thing was big. I've been working on my own project. I had a bunch of Apple rejections a few weeks ago, which is funny because one of the Apple rejections I got was a 4.3. At the same time, I got like a few emails from people saying, I've seen your video about this, like, what do I do? And it's like, dude, rejections are just part of it, right? And the other thing is I turned 50 on Saturday, which I've got my own things with that, like oh my God, I'm not ready. I had so much more to live for. So anyway, I'm glad you guys are here. Let's see who's here. Rifat is here. Hey man, how's it going? Congrats on not breaking the chain and keeping the atomic habits. Thanks, I appreciate that. And thanks for the likes, by the way. Question, when do you pivot while creating apps? Do you actively seek out to learn to be able to pivot? I am creating courses and I expect 1 out of 10 works out, metrics, reviews, and customer growth. It's really weird because it's like you don't want to be that person who gives up. You always hear that story about the person who, there's that, I've read it in so many business books. It's such a cliche, but it's like you guys can hear me, right? Just make sure. So it's such a cliche where it's that, the field of diamonds thing where the guy was like, he kept digging and digging and digging, but he was so far from reaching his diamond mine, but he sold the land because he said, screw this. And then somebody came in and just took over or whatever. So there's that. So that is that way of thinking, like, you just got to stick with it. But then there's also what Seth Godin talks about in the dip, which is sometimes you should quit things because, you're not getting anywhere with it. And that's the thing we always struggle with. If it was an easy decision, it would just be easy. So for me, like lately, everything I've been doing has just been corporate. So it's been, I've been doing contract work, but also working on projects for corporate clients and stuff like that. Because it's a little bit easier to get stuff through. But I have been working on my own application for the past months. And we started marketing it. We started with email marketing, and we have not had any success with that. So now we're going to do the Facebook marketing. But then as I was like, today we're going to kick off our ad campaigns. And then I started looking at the admin site that are created, and I'm like, no, I want to add a few more things. And so I've been working on that all day. Well, I should have been filming something. And so that was, I got the green screen set. I was going to work on this project, like a tutorial on something for a client. And, I had a green screen set up and everything. And, I got caught up in the code and everything. Something always distracts you. So, but, it's, sometimes you do have to pivot. But that's the whole thing. There's that bit in the movie, was it? I keep seeing the clips for it. The one Margin Call, where the where Jeremy Irons plays the head of the company, and he says it's his job to know when the music stops, right? And sometimes it's like that's the whole thing. Is like, is this worth pursuing, or is it best to bail out of it? I know a lot of people who left apps ages ago, and they moved on to the next shiny object. They moved on to drop shipping, they ebook publishing, all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of like, I also think, you get really good at something by being really good at it, by putting the time in. So, Joe, hey Joe, how's it going? We can hear you, cool. We hear sound is great, cool. Let's see. Says, how's your health? I'm feeling good. I'm still tired though. I kind of thought I was over it. I'm hitting the gym every day, which is good. But I did go to like the boxing gym yesterday and hit the bags, and it was kind of hot. But it was like kind of that. And after a while, I just can't keep up with this. But that's it. I mean, that's because I got the milestone birthday coming up this week. I'm like, dude, I need to get. I'm gonna like totally. I'm gonna fight age every step of the way. Let's see. Sam Mills here. Hey Sam, how's it going? Sam, can I call you Sam? Joe, happy belated birthday. It's actually on Saturday, so it's not happened yet. I'm gonna feel so much better on Sunday just to get it out of the way. And Kevin's here. Hey Kevin, how's it going? And Angelina says, are you melting weather and such in the EU? Yeah, this is weird because I got so many people. Even my team in the Philippines, they were saying, oh, we keep seeing in the news about the heat wave in England, and are you okay? And I'm like, dude, it's like so much cooler here than it is in the Philippines. Like we had like those 2 days where it got really hot, and it was warm, but it was like, just get through it. It wasn't that bad. Yeah, I turn the fan on, leave the windows open. But then I also was on the tail end of COVID, so there was a lot of just I wasn't sure if it was the heat or just the my energy levels aren't back or whatever. But now everything's fine. I mean, how about the rest of you guys? Because it seems to be hot everywhere. Let's see. Morris says, if your app can realistically save money or make money for the user, it should sell itself. Companies will pay $50 a month to save $100 a month. That's true. I mean, everything you do, everything you produce should be able to help them. I mean, Grant Cardone in his, I don't know if it was in the 10x rule, or he was talking about the 10x rule. So I was like, when you buy a book, you're not concerned about the $20 or the $30. You want to find the $1 million in that book. And every time we do something, every time we buy a course or you do something self-improvement wise, you're hoping to get more value out of it than you paid for. A lot of the times I don't find that to be the case. Like a lot of, I read, I mean, I kind of, so like my big thing was I'd read a book a week, and I've done that for years and years. And then like in the last couple of years, I've just gotten lazy, and I kind of like, maybe it's once a month or whatever, but now I'm getting back into the habit. I was okay, I gotta force myself. I've gone too much into just watching YouTube videos. So I've been reading a lot of really good books lately, which I keep thinking I'll do videos about, just because it's like, oh, this is interesting. There's but why was I saying that? But yeah, a lot of the times you're reading all these books, because when you read a lot of them, you realize how many of them are derivative. It's like, it's not somebody coming up with something new or anything like that. It's basically just talking about all the other books that they read and just taking everything and aggregating it into a new thing. Almost like, like sampling music or whatever, but they're sampling content and just putting everything into a book. And you're like, well, this is one of the things. This is one of the things that I think Kindle self-publishing has really been it's been kind of cool because anybody can publish anything, but there's so much junk out there, and so many people are just like, I just want to have this book out there, so they'll write something and it'll be like, oh, download my ebook, it's 28 pages, and you're like, seriously, 28 pages? How much? So why am I talking about this? Yeah, but yeah, so that's all I'm saying. Yeah, if you genuinely can, and of course, if you're selling your product, you have to believe that it can help them, right? And then that's the only way you could really do that. If you're not sold on, like, quoting Grant Cardone twice in this chat, but if you're not sold on it, you're not gonna be able to sell anybody else on it. let's see. Joe says, have you ever gotten odd events in Firebase? Yesterday I received a light pack event along with a Lua script flow event. The app isn't made in Lua. Thoughts? That's weird. No, well, you know what I get? Every so often I'll get a password reminder or like, you know, a password reset form, which you could do in the authentication, but it's kind of weird because I was like, why am I getting this? And I'm like, are all the users getting this too? And I kind of just, you know, shrug it off. So I'm using Firebase all the time now. That's kind of my main thing when I'm doing my own projects, and this is what I've been doing today. I've been using Blazor front end because I've been doing so much C# lately. I thought, screw it, I'll just do it in Blazor with a Firebase with Firestore backend and using Firebase authentication and Firebase storage and Firebase hosting, everything like that. So everything's in Firebase except for the other bit, which is Microsoft. And the fact that it's like it doesn't quite align in a lot of ways. So I keep coming up with issues, especially along the date time. You know, if you ever use Firestore, you know that there's the timestamp issue, or there's timestamps kind of different there. So I'm trying to serialize everything into C# objects, because once I get that, you know, loading the data from Firestore and doing everything in C#, it's just a lot easier, even though it's a bit bulky using WebAssembly with C#. But yeah, no, I haven't got anything with the Lua events. But let's see. Morris says, I lived in the Philippines in the 70s as a military brat. Very different back then. Cool. Oh, that's I've been there once. I went there a few years ago. I did some videos from over there just to visit the team and everything. We stayed at the Lulu's Resort. It was kind of nice. You know, it was like just I went to Vietnam to visit the development team I was working with on a few of the client projects, and thought, you know, and then I went to the Philippines, and you know, and just basically me, Sandy, and Rowena at the time were, you know, my team. We'd been working together for years, so you know, they brought their families. We stayed at this beach resort, and it was really nice. But let's see. Angelina says, I share the books on the Discord. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah, it's yeah, because like, so the one I'm reading right now is called, it's not a very long one. It's called The Middle Essence, because again, this is all about me getting older. So it depends, like a lot of times what I read depends on like I've read lots of books on dating. I've read lots of books on, you know, software. I've read lots of books on, you know, business, whatever. I was reading this one, called The Middle Essence Manifesto, which is all about, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand with the one I read previous to that, which was called Be Your Best Self Now. So The Middle Essence Manifesto is by Barbara Wax, and it's basically talking about how, you know, as we get older, we have this like almost like a second adolescence where, you know, a lot of people feel like it's all just a general decline, but because we've added so much time, like in the last 100 years, we've added like 30 years onto the average lifespan. So we're actually, when we get to the certain age, we're like, you know, why we feel like, you know, because everything we've learned, you know, through society and everything was, you know, these are the declining years or whatever. It really is like where you could actually start like a new career in your 40s and your 50s, and, you know, start whole new things, and the evidence of people who have done that. And it's really kind of really interesting. Another one I read was by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, it's called Be Your Best Self Now. No, Be Your Future Self Now. Be Your Future Self Now. And that has, the premise of that one is kind of the same. A lot of this has to do with just, you know, the milestone birthday coming up, and I'm just sort of like, that's where my thoughts are. But his premise is, on Be Your Future Self Now, his premise is that looking at, you know, lots of different studies and stuff, like we look at ourselves 5 years ago and 10 years ago, and we realize how much we've grown, but we always, through our entire lives, we always assume that 5 years or 10 years from now, we're going to be pretty much the same as we are now. But the reality is your future self is going to be, you know, very different than the you are now. So to try to think about who that future self is going to be, that way when you have that future self kind of in your head and defined, then it kind of pulls you towards that. So when you're thinking, you know, maybe I don't want to go to the gym today, or maybe I want to eat, you know, and hit the drive-through, which I went to yesterday, you know, then that's the thing with the future self, you know, and, you know, and doing stuff like that. Another book I read recently is by Michael Easter, called The Comfort Crisis, and that's the premise of that is about his whole thing was he was like kind of like a binge drinker and all this stuff all through school and everything. And when he gave up all that, he started to realize that, well, he was really addicted to comfort. In fact, we all are. And whereas we're getting softer and all this kind of stuff, and I totally see that, because I've gotten on the Netflix thing. When I got COVID, I actually got another streaming service, because that as I was reading that book, I'm thinking, do you know what, I'm gonna get rid of Netflix. Not because I can't afford it, but because just so much time goes to it. And then so, well, maybe I'll and I'm thinking about this kind of stuff. Maybe I'll get rid of that big TV or whatever. And then I got COVID. And I was just like, I'm so bored. And then I got Paramount Plus, so I could watch Yellowstone, which I basically finished watching yesterday, the first 3 seasons, and the Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Well, what a ramble. But yeah. So anyway, there's lots of really good books out there, and I think it would be kind of cool to share some of those. They're not always software related, but a lot of times I do like to read that stuff. Kevin says, it's hot and rainy here in Florida. I am ready for October 15th. We can get some dry season. We can go into the low 80s. Cool. Let's see. Vic Tessa says, what strategies do you use to prevent scope creep? That's a difficult one, because it always comes up. Back when I first started out, I was very much the hey, can we just add this one little thing? I'm like, yeah, sure, that won't take long, whatever. And I can remember once I once one of the contracts I was working at, I had a manager who was he'd always say, nope, we're not doing it. And I said, dude, it's gonna take like an hour to add that, or it's gonna I could do that in just a couple minutes. And he's like, nope. And what he said was, we made a really good point. Is like, you're introducing a new bit of functionality, and if there's a bug or there's something wrong with it, then they're going to come back to you for that, and basically you're fixing something that was never in the project scope to begin with. So it's not just doing the initial task, it's the maintenance of that extra feature. And I've gotten bitten by this many times. In fact, recently there's one project where I thought, I want to add this extra bit of functionality in it, and it was just sort of like it wasn't in the spec, but I thought it's going to make it much easier, it's going to be better for the users, all this kind of stuff. And sure enough, that they come back going, oh, this thing you added, it's not, could it do this instead, could it work this, and so it was like something that I just slow learner Eric. So, but you have to put your foot down, and that's one of the weird things about when you're doing client work, is that you have to, everything in the beginning is, yes, we could do that, yes, yeah, we could do that, great, yeah, blah blah. But then you get to the point where when everything is agreed on and the price is agreed on, you have to really put your foot down, unless they know, or tell them that it's going to cost extra, and not just that it's going to cost extra. But you're going to need to get the payment for the initial thing to begin with. So one of the things that I have is, even though they agree to extra, I've had this before, where they agreed to extra scope and they agreed to pay for it, that still pushed back the release date. So like my payment, I still have to think of the payment. I have an application that there's one now where it's, we had an agreed release date. Right, basically they told me they needed it released on this date, and I thought, okay, we need this done like really quickly. So I worked weekends to get it done, and sure enough, that release date was 3 weeks ago, because they're we're still testing. Oh, maybe we're gonna add something else, whatever. So that kind of stuff just happens. But the thing that bothers me the most is that okay, when you're running the business, and when you got people on your team and stuff like that, you have to be able to predict your income. And when you have that kind of situation where everything gets pushed back, then you can't predict it. And this was one of the things that, like a couple years ago, that really stressed me out to the point where I was like, really like my shoulder, like my muscles were all tense. I mean, I was just there were times I was just angry, and it was like, and my kids would be like, Dad, are you all right? And I'd be like, oh yeah. You snap out of it. Oh yeah, I'm thinking about some guy thousands of miles away, who can't seem to get a login form to work, or a developer that's just taking too long, or a client that's saying, oh, it's not good enough or whatever. Oh, but yeah, we discussed it was going to be, I was like, or things that are not in the specification, but apparently there's this imagined conversation that happened, and I get, you could put my foot down and say, there's no evidence of this and I don't remember it. And then of course it's like, oh, you're trying to cheat me, and that can get very contentious. So I think the easy thing is just to be honest to begin with, because it's really difficult when you're trying to because if you're working for a business, this is why it's different from working for a business or working for an individual. An individual, they don't see the budgetary considerations a lot of the time. You guys like, look, I'm running a business. I have to think about cash flow. I have to think about completion of these projects, getting things in, and every time you start adding stuff, it pushes that back, and all of a sudden I don't really have a proper business. I just have, maybe if I do this I'll get paid, and then like the longer that gets pushed back, the less motivated you get, the more you're like, well, this is they're gonna drag their feet on this, or they're gonna start adding stuff. I've got of all my clients, I'm gonna like focus on this other client, get this stuff done first, and so that everything just slows down for them. And I've had that before. I've had projects that have gone years over, or at least a year and a half, to the point where it was like, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's like, there's part of me that's like, I really like you try so hard to get the job, and then you're like, we need to get this done. I was working with like another development team. Basically, it was a company, and they had a development team, and they had this existing application, like this web-based application. They want an app for it. So, so I said, okay, I need the API, and they kind of gave me a bit of documentation, and so I had a developer in India who was working on it, and he was kind of like, he was getting frustrated with it, and he was like not doing a very good job either. So in the end, it was kind of like, but then they kept adding on to the API. And finally, in the end, I had to say, okay, we're not going to do anything more until we get a documented API. And that stopped everything for a month. And then they gave me a document, and so so we resumed again. And this is a project where 50% up front, 50% at the end. And finally, in the end, the developer I was working with, first of all, he did a terrible job. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to take this over myself, because, he was doing a terrible job. And also, they were like, they have their, the development company, like I always pay, right? I always do. The fear of being a developer or being a contractor, work with anybody is that you're always afraid that, what if they don't pay? What if they throw a fit or whatever. So the longer these things go out, the more you're like, the more risk you have, and then you're the more desperate to get the thing finished. So you're working nights and weekends, and they're still like, yeah, there's one more thing. Oh yeah, we discussed this in a meeting though. I remember the meeting we had last June where we discussed this. Like, it's not in the document. It's not in the specifications. It's not, there's, I don't remember having that conversation. And it's like, and to a point where, there's been a few projects where I've had to like, just in the end, it's like, this is not going to get finished. Like, we gotta, you could pay for what's been done so far. But like, it's really, really difficult, Victessa. Let's see. Morris says, why are so many companies using Blazor, and I guess powerapps too? Yeah, powerapps is something I've been hearing about for a while, and everyone keeps telling me I should use it, and I just haven't. And I think it's because it reminds me too much of SharePoint, and when I think of SharePoint, I want to throw myself off a building. But Blazor, at first, like, it was actually Fist007 on this live stream. We kept talking about it, and I'm like, yeah, but C# in a browser, I don't know if I like the idea of that. I like just JavaScript. I'm not even a big TypeScript fan. I like plain vanilla JavaScript, or whatever, Angular or whatever. And I struggle with it. It's been so long since I've done web that I struggle with it. And because Blazor was in C#, it was like, it's easy just to load the data up and do everything with it, and use the same object model between a Xamarin application and a Blazor application. I don't think it's more efficient I think it's easier to use, than to have to, you know, a lot of people are really good with React. They're really good with Vue.js. They're really good with Angular. But me, Angular was one of the, I have all these admin sites which are done in Angular.js hosted in Firebase using Firestore and Firebase authentication. And I was just like, it kind of felt like one of these frameworks which got too clever for its own good. Like they went off in their own direction and said, we're going to make everything so amazingly clever. And you're like, it's still HTML at the end of the day, right? It's still HTML and JavaScript. You're loading, in server code or whatever. And they're going, no, we're going to use this observable class. No, we're going to use this, And it's like, okay, so, so I don't know. I was just getting a bit frustrated with Angular, and so I just went with the Blazor. I don't think it's like a better language. Particular. Hey everybody, thanks for liking the stream too. It helps with the algorithm. It's one of these things I never say, but I appreciate it when you guys do like it. Let's see what else we got here. If you come back to America, I'm gonna come back to America. Be wary of the rising crime in most cities. Okay, it gets worse every year. The media fuels it. Not sure where it's going. I moved to a rural area. Yeah, this is one of the things I keep hearing about the crime in the States. I think my goal was always to go back to America, and now that with the divorce and everything, my kids getting older, and my middle, moving into my 50s. Oh, my 50s. Oh, my back pain. Oh, I tell you what, I've been working out harder this last couple weeks because the age coming up. I was like, dude, screw this. I'm gonna fight it. Which means I'm gonna end up injuring myself. But now these days I'm thinking, you know what, I'd like to live in where would I want to live? Like, I don't think it'll be England, although I like England, but I think I'd like to go like someplace by the coast, maybe Portugal, or I'm going to go to Croatia in October, which I'm looking forward to, and just, I'll do some videos from there, but just going by myself, it should be fun. Let's see, Angelina says, what ASO tools do you use and pay for? Sensor Tower, App Tweak, Mobile Action. What in your experience works better? Now, I've never paid for App Tweak. I paid for Sensor Tower for a long time and Mobile Action for a long time. I've also used the tool, and the tool, what else have I used? I mean, I've kind of been through them all, and I've never really been that impressed with them. And it's one of those things where, I still use App Annie. I use the free version of App Annie, because the paid version of App Annie, well, they won't even tell you what it is. That salesperson calls you up and he goes, for only £700 a month, you can see the stats on one category, and you're like, that's really expensive. So for me, I paid for them for like a long time, and it gets to a point where it's like, I'm not getting any benefit out of this at all. And, and I think what they all really lack is really good documentation on how to use these tools. There's one called The Tool, and they'd contacted me to do like a sponsorship thing, and to this day I've not done sponsorships. I've talked to so many different like companies, they contact me, and I'm like, so they gave me like a year's, like the full version of the tool, worth thousands of dollars, and I went through and I thought, okay, I wasn't gonna like recommend it to you guys until I tried it myself. So I was like going through and I'm going through all the tutorials, and all the tutorials, they're out of date. Like what the interface is different. And then, so I contacted them saying like, none of this is the same. Go, oh yeah, no, we just had a big revamp. I'm like, okay, so how do we learn how to use this? And it's been one of those things where it's like, it's that black art thing. And there's something about the whole ASO, like ASO is important. I'm gonna, like I've talked about many times in the past. I think about from the, ASO stands for App Store Optimization. How do you, optimize your App Store page or your Play Store page so that it can be found? And there's lots of different ways to do that without using those tools. Those tools are good for getting keywords and stuff like that, which are becoming less and less relevant the more crowded that the app stores are getting, in my opinion. So, but it's a bit like, like the SEO guys who would still contact me going, ooh, we can get you to the top page on Google. And you go, all right, well, how are you going to do that? And I go, what keywords you targeting? And then they start, and I get into conversations with them. And I'm thinking, there's a lot of like big talk, but like, I have hired SEO people to work on my website, and it was just it was such a bad experience that I haven't done it anymore since. And I've had lots of ASO companies contact me saying, we could do your ASO for you, but a lot of the times they can't do it for you. Basically what they do is they give you a bunch of recommendations on how to change your application, and really that's something that you should be able to do yourself and to be able to look into it. But when it comes to this sensor tower and stuff like that, it's nice to be able to check the metrics against other applications, but really the basics of it is important. Like that's it. Like being able to go into make a change to your title of your application or your or the first line of your description, all that kind of stuff, and then being able to go check the status of it in App Annie every few days just to see how that's made an improvement. That's hugely important. And it's one of those things where I because I've been talking about it for so long, I kind of just think everybody knows it. But I was with a client about a month ago, and we're talking about it. I'm and we're kind of just talking about the, it's not getting a lot of downloads, and I'm and so I'm just well, and I just started looking at it. I opened up, I'd say App Annie. It's not called App Annie anymore. It's called data.ai. So I opened up data.ai, and I just started looking at the keyword section, oh, we could change this title to this, whatever, this, and they're like, oh, we could do that. Oh yeah, that was kind of my thing. It's kind of my thing. So it's and I kind of assume everybody knows this. And this is one of the things I was thinking about having. Just one of these days, I need to sit down and just do a full video of just the basics of ASO and these tools that say, one of the things I don't like about those tools is it's Sensor Tower was £80 a month for one application. I had loads. And then every time I wanted to do anything different, I go, oh, you got to upgrade to something else to get this, some upgrade. So, so if I had ever had somebody say okay, because I've had people say, oh, it's a great tool. Oh, it's great. It's great. And I'm like, how? Show me. I want to see numbers. I want to see stats. I want to see somebody actually going through and working through how it works. And not somebody says, oh, you see, there's a 2% thing there. It was, yeah. So that kind of stuff. I think yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan, I guess. Angelina, are you using any? In fact, if anybody out there is using any, and you want to let me know, because it's I could be wrong. Let's see. Morris says, I once used a couple of free new app announcement services and got spammed with ASO offers for years. Yeah, there was for a long time there was these, the review exchange services, you review us, we review you, all that kind of stuff. But that kind of stuff just, if you're gonna spend your money on anything, I think it'd be the advertising, because if it's or doing search ads rather than those other tools. But that's just my opinion. App review services also share the list to ASO companies. Yeah, I think it's, and I think it was just one of these things that bothered me from the beginning. I mean, even when I go back and look at my old videos from 2014, 2015, way back in the beginning, that's when it started. Those were around the time where my apps have been. I released my first app in 2012. I do 2013. I'm kind of learning things and how localization works, how how to get my keywords, all this kind of stuff, and I started to realize that there were a lot of people out there who were experts, but they had no experience, if you know what I mean. And it was it bothered me that I was the mark. It's one of the reasons why I never did this this ASO service, and it was kind of lucrative. It was if you guys if I did a video and I promoted this ASO service and you guys did it, I would get a percentage of what you guys do. And I would get this affiliate link, and I would get all this stuff, and it was oh wow, the YouTube channels will actually make money. But then it was what, as developers, we're putting stuff out there, and we're spending the long late hours building something for somebody to come in and go, what you need, you need my expert consulting services to like, and you're like, screw, you know what? Yeah, like as a developer, you're the person who can sit there and look, work through those late nights on the hard code and sit there and put something out there. You're the one with the vision. You're the one with the thing that you're going to build something and put it out there onto the app stores and put it out there, and whatever. And you have to believe in it so much that you're actually able to push yourself through it and get something released. And then at the end, you're like, you got somebody saying, oh yeah, you know what you need? Oh, you know what your problem is you need to hire me as a consultant and you're like, do you have any apps? No, but I've helped other people. And it's like, yeah, but like, if you're so good at this, why don't you just do your own stuff? So I don't know. I'm a bit. I've always just been really skeptical of that. I think if it's I think like I don't think it should be a specialist skill. Like some things are just like you should just learn them. Like I have this pet peeve where I was working with somebody and I went on their LinkedIn page for some reason, and it was just like nothing was filled in. It was like he had like 120 he had like 50 contacts or whatever. It was just like in the only reason I think he told me to go to his LinkedIn, and it was like, okay, I was like, and it bothered me that he didn't optimize his LinkedIn page, right? He didn't, and it was so it's like an easy tutorial. Like I spent a couple hours and you could like optimize it, but for some reason they think it's not important, right? And it kind of bothers me when there's somebody who says, like doing videos, right? Learning how to edit videos is like, it's a couple hours work of just to learn the skill, and then you could do it, and then you have a lot more control of what you do. And for a while, I did try for a while to hire somebody else to just do my editing for me. But when I talk to people, they say, I want to do YouTube too. And I'll go, cool. Like editing is not that difficult. Like, and after a while you get better. Like the same with software. You know all the shortcut keys. You do, like when you're going out and filming something, oh, this would be really cool. Oh, this music would make it really good here and all this stuff. And it's like, it's not something that, and they think, but yeah, that's not my job. I'm more the ideas guy. Right. And I think, you should know how to, some things you should just be able to know how to do. You should be able to watch a video on how to watch a video or read a short book on how to optimize your LinkedIn profile and optimize your LinkedIn profile. You should be able to, if you're going to do videos, you should be able to learn like a little bit of video editing. It's not that hard to do. And if you're going to release an app, you need to learn the basics of ASO. And I'll do a video on it. I'll do something, this is one of those things where I'm thinking I might do a course, but it's not going to be one of these, 97 pound or 497. It's going to be let's just go through the basics, because it's we're talking about the ABCs, because are people are people even finding it? B, if they're finding it, are they downloading it? And C, if they're downloading it, are they making purchases? And addressing all of those in the order that they should be. One of the things that when I was talking about this a lot was people would be, why am I not making any money from my app? And it's like, well, is anybody downloading it? They go, no. It's like, well, that's probably why. Why aren't they downloading it? So I don't know. Well, are they finding it? Are you looking at those reports in Google Play? Are you finding out if it's turning up in search? Do you even know who your target user is? Do you know how they're going to find it? It's like working from there to there. The screenshots are not important if they're not finding the Play Store page or the App Store page. If they are finding it and they're not downloading it, those screenshots need to be looked at, and the description needs to be looked at, because for whatever reason, they're hitting that spot and they're walking away from there, right? If they're doing it, actually downloading the app and they're uninstalling it right away, then you got to start looking at the functionality of the application and think, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with my onboarding process? What's wrong with my user, with my first user experience and stuff like that? But anyway, Jeff, hey Jeff, how's it going? Dude, what's up? Hey Eric, do you trademark your app names? Nah. I've had people ask me that. I've had clients ask me that, and it's just one of those things I've never done. I don't know if I should. my dad's always telling me about stuff. Like, I'm like, let's just produce it and get it out there, because I know that a lot of people who it just delays them actually going live or whatever. And I'm just like, I want to see if it works on the market before anything else. It kind of bothers me. There's like, even the name Overpass was something that I set up this company in 2004. And there's like, and I didn't get the .com domain, and it was like, wasn't really used by anybody. And now it's like, it's used by someone with a company that's very similar to mine. Or it looks too similar to mine for my liking. So I know a lot of like people see on YouTube channel or whatever, and I'll go to overpass.com, and you know, might drive business to them because I got the .co.uk, right? So there are times where I think maybe doing the trademark thing might be important. However, having said that, I have gone on the Google Play just to say, here's my app, here's their app. They are definitely copying mine. There's my icon, there's their icon, here's my description. Like, I've had people copy my description verbatim. And I'm like, dude, that's just not on. Like, and yeah, so I have been, and I've had Google Play remove some of those stuff. So, Crypto Crunch, hey. Let's see. Morris says, are Chinese app companies still cloning U.S. apps and registering them in China? If you don't register through them for $300, otherwise they have Apple remove your app. They have Apple remove your app in the U.S. by Apple. I don't know. I've had an Android app that was cloned in China, and I had to contact the Chinese company to get that removed. Let's see. Basically, China was shaking down app developers for $300 per app. I haven't seen that. I mean, that's a bit crazy. But yeah, that's a bit scary. I mean, when you like, that's one of those things where we talk about the app developers who are just really getting started, right? There's these large companies. I think I've been to so many different like conferences and stuff where, you know, you meet the head of user acquisition or whatever, and they're like, that's their job, is to, you know, their company, they have a team of developers, they have a team of, you know, artists, they have a team of just people who, you know, look at how to get users into it like that. And you know, but as a solo developer, when you're just releasing something, putting something out there, you don't have all those kind of big budgets. So I mean, it sounds like it'd be easy to be, you know, shaken down that way, but which sucks. But anyway, so looks like that's the last question. Cool. All right, well, I'm sorry it's taking me so long to get on with the live stream. It's you know, COVID and all this stuff. I'm gonna get some more videos out there soon. I appreciate all you guys showing up. I appreciate everybody who's liked, and everyone who's subscribed, all that kind of stuff. I hope you guys have a great week ahead. I'll have a video coming out tomorrow, hopefully later on in the week too. And I hope you guys are staying healthy, staying safe, and I'll talk to you guys again next time. All right, talk to you later. Bye.